music today.
Hello and welcome to the Delirium Engine, where YouTube is down and everybody seems to be blaming Pakistan. Just a note on that, something to add to that, T-Series at one point will be the number one channel, and that is an Indian channel. So you know what? I think it's PewDiePie. I think PewDiePie conscripted his 9-year-old army.
The 9-year-olds.
Right? And guess who the 9-year-old army who they hired as mercenaries? India's greatest enemy, Pakistan.
I don't know.
You don't know?
Maybe.
I'm down for it.
You know what? No, that's what I believe. I think PewDiePie put a hit out on YouTube. He's like, I'm not number one. You know what?
Well,
you're done.
He's got enough people on his channel to basically have a small army, and he could probably give them a few.
That's why they're called the 9-year-old army.
Yeah, exactly.
You can buy merch.
Probably just do it themselves.
You can buy sweet PewDiePie merch. It says, "Excuse me, I'm a 9-year-old."
Wouldn't that be swag?
Really?
Yeah,
that's a thing.
You can buy a 9-year-old hat. Yeah, that says, "Don't mind me, I'm a 9."
Oh God.
It doesn't sell very well. He's saying.
No, I can see why.
Yeah, but his other merch is pretty sweet. Actually, he's pretty good at clothing design. I guess that seems to be what he's doing for fun. Anyway, welcome to the Delirium Engine once again. I'm here with my good friend, the Spartan and Mr. Dagwood. Mr. Dagwood's actually here today.
I'm alive.
Let's clap for basic stuff. All right, and just in time for what is going to be the last episode in our series, Enter Session, and it probably is going to be the last episode in this style of Delirium Engine podcasting. This like discussion about how to do Dungeons and Dragons stuff like that. I think we've teased out most of what we want to do, and with Intercession being kind of a dud, mostly because the people that my co-hosts, only the Spartan was showing up. Everybody else didn't seem to be interested in showing up, and the episodes were kind of stale. I'll probably retire this sort of format, and we're going to move on to something else. And I might take a week or so off, but if we don't, the new format I think is going to be a lot more interesting, a lot more interesting and more productive, actually. Yeah. Did you hear about it? I sent you a message about it, didn't I?
No.
No. We'll explain it at the end of this fine episode, so you can wait with bated breath. Mm-hmm. So, the last episode of Enter Session, where we discuss the parts of a GM session scenario and discover the what makes each part the most successful with the least effort. The last episode we're doing is going to be about treasure, all that glitters. And I didn't do the intro properly because we were too busy joking about bullcrap and YouTube and how YouTube is down. Boom! All that glitters. But that's fine, because I think maybe one person watches this show right now anyway. So, thank you for your viewers.
Continued patronage.
Your continued patronage. We are doing this for you, whoever you are. We love you, and I hope you've enjoyed the ride.
It's like that one episode of Teen Titans Go where they have a fan. That's the fan.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Like, honestly,
kudos.
Kudos to the guy who watches our show. I checked the metrics, and there's like one view. It's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. I hope that's the Dawn. If it's the Dawn and he's still going, he's the best. But, yeah. So, like we do in every episode, I'll go ahead and explain what I'm talking about when I'm talking about treasure, what we mean in the context of producing a session, and then we will get the hot takes of the Spartan and Mr. Dagwood, and then we'll do a round table and talk about how we might possibly produce the best treasure or the best rewards for the least effort. And so let's jump into it. So by treasure, what I'm talking about is obviously the rewards of the actions of the players. Generally, when you plan out your session, you usually plan what the big treasure at the end is, but also sometimes you plan the treasures for like the side quests and things like that. And how people sort of plan these treasures kind of determines how the future games are going to go. So with that explanation is pretty easy and it's pretty basic. Like, and the rewards can measure from all sorts of things. They can measure from like NPCs starting to love you more or whatever, right up to basically like the shiny magic sword, right? And GMs can easily there's a random treasure table that people can just look for, and that might make the game interesting. But sometimes when you don't want bullcrap in your game, because those random treasure tables are either just stupid or they're just like, if they're too powerful, they're ridiculous and it completely derails everything. And if they're too little, then it's just like, why are we even rolling? Just tell me I found something that makes sense.
Yeah.
And there's nothing quite as disappointing when someone's like, oh man, we found the epic sword of epicness. And it's like, this thing's crazy. It's got bonuses. It casts spells. It does everything you want, except for the only person in your party that uses a sword, uses a great sword, and this is a rapier. And he goes,
good for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's how random treasure tables generally end up. It's like a guy, especially now that Dungeons and Dragons is more about builds and less about, just the nature of your character. Like a warrior should be able to just pick up the rapier, go, oh frick, sweet, a rapier, and be happy. But now you can't because you have like things like investments and things like feats and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, now you've invested entire levels of your character into being good with a greatsword or something like that. And like, yeah, when you get that rapier, you're just like, is there a way I can turn this into a greatsword? Like, can I somehow be good?
Can I sell it?
Technically, yes.
Yeah, I guess so.
Transfer the enchantments over.
Sure. If that's money. Allowed.
Yeah.
Well,
and it costs piles of cash.
So,
yeah, I don't
really. It's like, okay, fine. You can have some treasure too if you're willing to give up some of your treasure.
Even cast is like that too. Like if you've restricted your character in that way, so that he's really good with like specifically a greatsword, then yeah, you can feel real bad about stuff like that. So it's pretty prevalent in any system that gives players those choices to specialize heavily.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think in cast it's a lot more diminished. Just because one character point equals one cool power, so you could always just invest that one character point later into something else. Unless you've spent hundreds of character points in some way on specifically one tree, and then obviously you just can't use that. Anyway, we're derailing.
Yeah. Bring her back in.
Yeah, bring her back in. So, I guess the question we're trying to ask here, well, other than the obvious, how to put treasure into your game in a way that's the most successful. Let's try to see if we can figure out what's the most successful way to put treasure in, and then we'll deal with the least effort later.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with the Spartan. Like, what do you think is the most efficient way? And then we're talking about a session, not a campaign. So when you put treasure in your session, what do you think would be the best sort of means of doing that?
Like, just, what do you mean by means of doing that?
Well, you're writing a session for your players, right?
Yeah.
So, how would you go about writing the rewards for that session? Like, for all the activities that the players will be performing? Like, what would you think is the best sort of, what would you think is the most successful way to do that? Like, do you just rely on the random treasure tables? Do you just, like, what's...
I'd probably pick some things out of the book that would be around about where their level would be, that they might find interesting.
Okay, yeah.
Throw those in. Maybe throw in a few little fun ones that don't really do much or kind of like one way or the other. Like there was one that I saw. It was like somebody made it up, but it's called the D2. It's a coin, and it lets you once a day you can flip it, and if it's on heads, it's a natural 20, but if it's on tails, it's a natural 1. So it's I'm gonna take a shot and either be really fucking great.
Yeah,
at this
it's
thing.
A critical hit or a critical miss.
Yeah, so it's a gamble.
Okay,
I thought that was pretty neat.
That's a cool weapon.
Yeah.
That is pretty sweet.
There was a few other ones too, but
yeah, there's lots of
like,
cool
throw a
shit.
little gag one in there.
That's fun. Yeah, that's
The
good.
spoon of infinite soup.
What about you,
there you
Mr.
go.
Dagwood? What do you think? Yeah, I like those kinds of gear. Like, I like magic items that do things that are way outside of combat. Like, stuff that's just like, what am I going to do with a spoon of infinite soup? I don't know. Have soup?
Like,
you know,
keep it in your mouth for an hour and you're fed for the day, right?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty happy. Just get to sit there sucking on a spoon your whole time.
Hey, it could be really good soup.
Might be.
That's true. That's true. The spoon of infinite gruel is a cursed item.
Oh yeah, that'd be rough.
I hate gruel. I actually found out when I was like 15 that gruel was just cold porridge. I'm like, my mom fed me gruel. All right, but you know, treasure's a lot of things. It's not just like gold. It's also it's land. It's blessings and friendships and all that great stuff. I like to sum it up as whatever makes people greedy. Because as soon as people know about treasure or they get the treasure, they start thinking about what am I going to do with it. They start getting that lust for power and stuff like that. Whether it's like, oh, well, now this genie owes me a favor, or now we found this big pile of gold. They always get greedy, and so the thing I always like to do is I like to leave a hint. If they're like trying to find treasure or something like that, if it is going to be something physical like a magic item or gold, I do like the foreshadowing. I don't like just be like, oh, you randomly stumbled across a lot of loot.
Yeah.
Because as you pointed out, it usually ends up being a big pile of mostly gold and mostly garbage. Because even like copper coins, it's like, oh, geez, 50,000 copper coins, and I laugh every time because the party will never leave a coin behind. There's just a barbarian with like, 2,500 pounds of copper dragging it through the dungeon.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get rid of this stuff? And then it just gets ridiculous, but I do think it's important, more than using the random tables, to actually pick something you think will enhance the story in some way. Because it is an opportunity you can use to... It's an opportunity you can use to actually drive some other things forward. By good loot is going to get... It's going to be an engine. It's going to be activation. It's going to give energy to your players to want to do something with it. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, great, you took over this small village. Now what are you going to do? And they're like, well, robbery, I guess. But
gonna sack the whole thing, but it's yours.
Impulse. Yeah, it gives them impulse to do more adventuring.
Yeah.
It's really the carrot, right?
Mm-hmm. So, the thing I like doing is similarly. I don't like random tables. Like I really don't. Like I built the Chaos Engine, but I never use it for like treasure and stuff unless it's like something blindsides me completely. Like it's like, what is going on? Mm-hmm. But if anything I'm planning, I'm not gonna use a random treasure table. It's just not gonna happen. And I like putting things that are very quirky. Like, all of the rewards for anything that isn't something that the PCs are specifically going for, it's like, oh, I want to go get a Vorpal Sword. It's like, okay, well, I'm not going to put something quirky as your reward for you trying to get a Vorpal Sword. I can give you a fucking Vorpal Sword. Like, you're not going to get the Spoon of Endless Gruel, because, after you did all that work to get that Vorpal Sword. It's like, it turns out, no, it's just the Spoon of Endless Gruel. No, but anytime where there's, like, a deviation where the players can go, I'll often give out strange rewards, and I'll just throw them in somewhere. Like when I'm building the session, probably when I'm taking notes on the environment or with like NPCs, it's like this guy has a X, and it could be something that they might be interested in. Something that Mr. Dagwood mentioned that I like, that I don't really think too much about, but I probably do it a little bit, is foreshadowing those rewards. So. Part of it is like you've placed the rewards in, and then in your environment notes that you're sort of putting in, you write the notes about like the effects of those treasures on the environment. Yeah. So like Bob has a Spoon of Endless Gruel, right? So he has a gruelery, and he sells gruel constantly, and everyone hates it, but it's so cheap that he has like lots and lots of customers all the time. Something like that. You know, and so it's people like, why does this guy have so much gruel? You know, there was a great famine and like nobody had anything to eat, but the gruelery kept running. You know, stuff like
Where
that.
does he get it from?
Yeah, it's like all of the oat crop in the whole kingdom died to disease, but the gruelery kept running.
What a mystery.
What a mystery. You know, stuff like that. Or like, you know, if there's like some artwork that, you know, some has magical properties, you know, maybe everybody comes in from miles around just to see this weird artwork. You know, likewise, you know, if you're in a dungeon scenario where you're in the dungeon, maybe, you know, the fact that some MacGuffin treasure exists,
It's just gruel pouring out from under the fucking
yeah. Well, no, like there's a fountain of nothing but like watered down gruel, and maybe someone had stuck the spoon of endless gruel in this like the mouth head of a fountain, and now it's just gruel pouring out constantly, and it's just like this gross gunked up room filled with gruel. And there's like a dried, crusty gruel like mouth all over this baby face, and like crusty old gruel everywhere.
I guarantee if you had a dungeon and there was a door, just a swollen, bulging, warped oak door with gruel seeping underneath it, I guarantee your players would open the door.
100%. They'd be like, what is even happening here? But like that's to me that
plowed over by a wave of gruel.
It's the foreshadowing that seems to be that makes it beautiful. And like with mundane treasures and stuff like that too. Like say there's for some reason there's like treasure rooms in your dungeon, all right, and it's not like the main treasure room. Let's assume that these little treasure rooms exist. You know, there should be environmental hazards or something in these treasure rooms that apply. So like there might be some covetous goblin. Let's just assume it's a goblin. It's always a goblin.
Yeah.
Some covetous monster or whatever that's like hoarding his little personal stash. You know, maybe he's stealing from the main treasure room. Who knows what? Or like,
I think that'd be pretty awesome to find out that goblins have been hoarding magic items since the dawn of time.
That'd be pretty
That's why you never see a goblin with a magic item. They hide them all.
Yeah,
stash them. Yeah, and that's some setting specific stuff that could be fun, and especially if you're world building too. You can always find reasons for things. But yeah, like to me that foreshadowing idea, just pushing that to its limit, like every treasure, or like if you're not seeking actual physical treasures or magic items or whatever, right? Like we're talking about like the favor of some noble, like just play up with the foreshadowing what that favor means. Like have people, you know, who have that favor already, you know, in the setting, like in the town. So it's like you're trying to get the Duchess's favor, and you've got people with the Duchess's favor going around being like, peasant, shine my shoes, and he puts his shoe up on like something that's full of horse crap, and the peasant's like, but I gotta go to work. It's like, peasant, shine my shoes, and you get to watch the peasant crying while he's shining his shoes because he knows he's lost his job, you know, but he has to because otherwise this guy might, but whatever. But like this
got undercut in the gruel market.
Oh jeez.
That's the gruel guy. He's got freaking gruel on his shoes. I think we not only did we break YouTube, we now broke Mr. Dagwood.
Yeah.
It was the gruel that did it.
Yeah. I'm legitimately gonna put that.
The spoon and this gruel.
Yeah. I was actually gonna put the crown of infinite pooping in. Just because I wanted to have them make a con save and then make a dex save for aim, because they're just gonna launch into orbit.
Oh jeez.
But then I'm like, that might be a little mean.
That might be a bit much.
That's stupid. That's so bad.
Then they're just dead. No, but the gruel one, that's a lot more fun and a lot less. So your character disintegrated as approach the speed of light.
Hey, cheap space travel.
Just better make sure you eat a lot and don't eat cheese.
Yeah, no, you don't want to get plugged up. That got nowhere to go but the other direction.
Oh my god.
Oh,
so yeah, all right.
Image.
So we've talked about like picking stuff from the books or whatever, but let's assume you have to sort of write your stuff up, right? When you're writing your session, how I guess my question would be, should you make these magic items complex, filled with mechanics? I guess it depends on what magic item you want.
Yeah.
But maybe when you're writing your session, because the players aren't necessarily going to get the magic item, so generally I don't write things up in a solid way until it's like in their hands, and then I'm just like, oh yeah, next session we'll give you the real numbers for it. But usually what I'll do is I'll write like what the item is and a short blurb about what it more or less does. And then maybe like if really necessary, like say it's like a ring of shooting fireballs or something, I'll just explain what the damage numbers are on the fireball and how many times it can do it. And that might just be enough. Like you don't really need fancy stats for it.
Well, with cast, you can kind of extrapolate how much that would cost off of what the numbers are.
Yeah. Oh, well, you can do that with D&D too, as
yeah.
well. And the numbers will sort of make themselves known. And you can take precedence from games. Like I know in 3rd edition, they had a pretty robust player magic item maker.
Yeah.
And if you just took the precedence from that what existed already, you can sort of get an idea of how to make pretty much any magic item. Like they had like an acid sword or something. You know, it was based on Milf's acid arrow, so and its price was based on Milf's acid arrow. And from there, you could just extrapolate. Oh, okay, well, everything in the game is really just one of the magic spells that they have, and then you just neuter it quite a bit, and then you can make a magic item. So you can like make like Milf's Meteor's ring or something, but it would be, significantly less powerful. It might just do a bunch of ones, just boom, 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 but it's all like 1 damage like 20 times or something like that, and that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
All on its own, and you can just shoot them all day, every day, just like machine gunning people with your hands. But like it wouldn't actually cast the spell Melf's Mind of Meteors, but like with that precedent, it would be priced as if it could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be pretty neat.
Yeah. So I would say the loose hand, like to make it with the least effort, is just go shorthand, and that seems to be the theme of like all of this whole series is really just like as a GM write things shorthand, like take copious notes about a variety of things, like and mostly about your environment and how the things that you're putting into the environment are affected, or affect the environment, or how the environment reacts to the things there. So in this example, foreshadowing the rewards is really just, taking notes on the environment.
Yeah. And
then just do a shorthand, and do shorthand about stuff. So I guess the next thing, when we're talking about successful, let's delve into the idea of how powerful the magic item, or how powerful these rewards should be, or how unpowerful they should be to be successful. So like, we can definitely say that like no reward is real bad. That's pretty much unsuccessful territory when like the players have worked to get a thing, and like unless it's like a plot point that there's nothing there.
Yeah, or a curse or something.
But, yeah, like
it's a challenge, not.
But like, let's assume that a reward is forthcoming, and you give them basically a sack of gruel. All right, not even the spoon of infinite gruel, just one bag of gruel that you can make. Congratulations, you traveled 9 levels of dungeon, fought a Baylor, and there's a sack of gruel. That's your treasure. Enjoy it. It's moderately tasty. It's like +1 gruel.
There's a little bit of honey in it.
Yeah. There's like, it's honey nut gruel, and then there's no nuts in it.
No, it's just honey.
Yeah, the nuts are kind of bad. You add them separately, and they weren't magical, so they just rotted.
Oh.
Yeah.
So but the oats, the gruel part is so.
It's good.
Thumbs up. That Baylor was guarding it with his life. He was like, "You will not take the great gruel." Whatever. So this sounds like that's a shit reward. Like that's pretty underwhelming.
That's not even a challenge or a. I guess it's fun to have jokes once in a while for like the armoire of invincibility, that kind of thing.
Hide in the cupboard. Hide in the cupboard and you're invincible. That's like every horror game on the planet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and alternatively though, like if you do the dungeon where you fight the one goblin and that's it, you shouldn't be given 100 Vorpal swords, 16 armors of invincibility, a giant jade beholder that will take your commands and act as like a beholder in every possible respect except he's your master, like you're his master. And, a phlogiston spaceship that can travel through time. All of these things should not be given to you in the level 1 sort of a quote level 1, one goblin
At
dungeon.
that point, that's not really a treasure. That's the game setting. You're saying this is the game we're gonna play now.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying, right? Like both of these, I'm trying to produce extremes so that we have like two points of where it's bad. Why do you think the too much treasure would be bad? Like obviously because you have PCs with no more goals anymore. They're like, okay, well now we have, or if they do have goals, the entire game is just like, okay, well we're gonna hire some mercenaries, give them all these Vorpal swords, and we're gonna do whatever the fuck we want because this is silly.
And then they get stomped by somebody who can actually wield the power at that level.
And then you got like a 12-armed guy who just kills all your soldiers with Vorpal swords, and now he's got 12 Vorpal swords.
Well, then you hire him.
Yeah, they're just like, dude, we got a time machine. You want to come with us?
I do miss my wife.
We can save her from the fire.
That's right. There you go. See? Now we're playing God of War.
Gave me 12 arms.
Paradox.
Just don't think about it and it'll go away.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the question then is like, what level of sort of treasure is the right level? And obviously the answer, it depends on the game, is real stupid. Like it doesn't, like there's obviously a wrong answer. So we got to figure out what the most successful answer is, and what direction or what would be the most successful treasure, at least in your opinion. Let's start with Mr. the Spartan.
I'd say something that makes the players feel like they've actually accomplished something.
Okay.
That isn't completely overpowered.
Okay, yeah.
Like, it'll give them a boost, but it's not like a machine gun to a knife fight.
Sure.
Type of boost. It's
so, like
I have a slightly longer knife than that guy now.
So, but like, what do you think would be like the metric, without getting into the weeds of like individual systems and settings or whatever? What do you think might be the metric? Well, systems at least might be the metric for like, let's say one goblin. What's the reward for that? What's the reward for fighting a dragon?
Well,
and let's assume the dragon is like some sort of adult/ancient dragon. Like it's not some sort of like.
It's not a pushover.
I'm a baby.
Yeah.
I hatched yesterday, and I already have a 401k.
That's how dragons work in Shadowrun.
Yeah, they really do.
Bringing in that 6-figure income 2 days after I'm born.
Just flexing.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? In Shadowrun, Lil T would be a dragon. I don't even think she exists anymore, but whatever. Old memes are dead.
If I may, I actually find it pretty interesting to think of, when we're talking about treasure is not just, gold and gems. Like, it's all kinds of things. But also, a lot of these same things can be different things. Like, a magic item could be treasure, or it could be a challenge. Like, what if it's cursed? What if it's evil? What if some villain wants it? And so, think about, like, what treasure is a little nebulous, but I think it generally falls into, like a two-axis thing. And treasure is either going to give someone new powers, or it's going to enhance powers they already have. Those are only two real options on that side. If it doesn't give them anything, it's not treasure, right?
Yeah, it's just fluff.
But then on the other side is the fact that things can, maybe you get treasure because it solves a previous problem, or it's something that you use to defend against the future, right?
Yeah.
And so, if I had to say what's going to make a good treasure, because I'm a bit loose with it. I've given people the weirdest case that happened is I accidentally calculated something weirdly, and this like level 4 character got 1 million gold pieces, and I was like,
Jesus. And
so I thought about it, and I let him have it. I thought about him like, okay, let's see where this goes. And he built this crazy castle and like wound up enchanting a whole forest, and it directed his goals and everything he did for the whole game. The kind of challenges that he interacted with weren't involved by you have a lack of money, but suddenly he was thrust over his head into a lot of bigger plays. And so it's something that drove the story forward. I've let a level 1 character have the Sword of Cass, and now the first thing this sword is like, you should totally kill that guy. Why? I think he works for Vecna. How can you tell? He's missing a hand. I think he's just a veteran. No, do it. And so, but it makes for a lot of fun stuff. So even if it's a little overpowered or even a lot overpowered, it can work. But a bad treasure would take away all challenge.
Yeah.
A bad treasure would, like, if it was too much, it would take away all challenge. It wouldn't drive the story forward. It would kill ambition. Those would be bad treasures. A good treasure is something that opens doors, or at least enhances your character. I think that's a pretty basic treasure. I think that's a good treasure is like a +1 sword. That's something that, you know, it helps you out. But a great treasure is something that just changes the direction of the story. It's something that opens up possibilities that didn't exist in the first place. You know, you might have your character be a cleric and he's climbing through the priesthood and that's his goal. But you know, it'd be really interesting if he gets a crystal ball of scrying, and he ends up finding out that the upper echelons of his church are doppelgangers.
Oh,
that's a pretty powerful item, and it's not going to help him with that challenge directly, right? But it's something that he's going to remember it because it's going to. I don't know how else to phrase it. It opens up those doors.
I think that's good. Like, you don't have to go further than that. Like, from what you were saying, what I wrote down here, just because I've been taking notes, is like, yeah, successful treasure adds to the next session / the campaign as a whole.
Yeah.
So when you're picking your treasures to give, you know, it's supposed to, once again, open doors. I got that written down here. You know, you get a sense, as long as your players, like, the most successful treasure will add to the next session, give you a sense of accomplishment, produce either new challenges or open doors to the rest of to more things that you can do, and then like the two axes either enhances an existing power, which might open doors in the sense that you feel more confident, or it produces new powers, which that's self-explanatory. Obviously, that will open new doors in a certain way. Like, even if it is infinite gruel, you know, you might be able to open that gruelery that you've always wanted.
Yep.
Yeah. Hey, no.
You know, or the Duchess's favor, that might just give you all the money you need because the Duchess will personally fund everything. Or heck, maybe you'll get to score the Duchess and you'll marry in and you can. Who knows? Who knows what the story would write? Eh? Like,
yeah.
All of these things are
more possibilities instead of less.
Yeah, but with that said, like that the too much aspect. So I guess we can push on that because now, like, obviously the most powerful magic items in the world opens all the doors ever, and it's not super successful, right?
No, it's overwhelming.
Like, it's ridiculous,
yeah.
You know. So I guess the question would be, where is the line between, you know, opens doors and ridiculousness? And thinking about it, because I'm sort of thinking about it while I'm saying it, which is pretty par for the course for the show. The line might actually be what it officially adds to the game itself. So I'm thinking to myself of a game that I played in where we wanted an artifact. Like, that's just, one of the guys had just finished watching Death Note, and he's like, man, can we play a game where we get something that's kind of like the Death Note? And what we decided on was that the magic item in the sort of pregame was going to be a coin. It was a gold coin. And it doesn't kill people or anything like the Death Note. It was actually very not at all like the Death Note. But it had, but it was supposed to be a phenomenally powerful magic item.
Yeah, world changer.
Yeah. So this magic item, all it did, this artifact, was anytime you make a deal and you offer the coin, the deal must be accepted. And then after the deal is accepted, you'll get the coin back. Like, the coin will end up in your pocket.
That's pretty neat.
Okay? And whether or not, like, and it doesn't change. All it does is that the deal is accepted and the trade will take place. And then when you get the coin back, the guy is not compelled to feel good about the deal.
No.
Yeah.
So as long as you what we ended up doing was we ended up starting a bank. Right? And so we basically used this coin to do all sorts of horse hooey. And but as long as you didn't rip everyone off, you wouldn't encounter so many enemies. And sometimes we got, you know, it bit us in the butt. because we were still playing with because we didn't know the parameters of the coin exactly. So, just like in Death Note, right? You get this thing and you're just like, okay, we know that it does a thing. And the deal has to be followed through, right? So when the deal is completed, so if it's a long-term deal, they get to keep the coin. Like the coin's still in their pocket, and they're compelled to finish the deal. So if the deal is something long-term, you don't get the coin back until the deal's over. So it's sort of in your interest to
make short, quick deals.
Make short, quick deals or steal the coin back.
Yeah.
When you're done, which they probably won't want because it doesn't say that it will. Like someone could figure out what the coin is while they have to do the deal, right? So anyway. So, but this item is insanely powerful, and we found it in the filler, like our first sort of milquetoast dungeon. The whole point of it is we do a milk run, and we find this crazy magic item. So we did the milk run, tested on our characters just to see what they were like, and we got this magic item, and the campaign sort of started for reals. Mm-hmm. And that story reminded, it makes me think that it doesn't really matter how powerful the magic item you've produced is, so long as it's adding to the campaign as a whole. Mm. So, in one sense, this Death Note, you give someone the Death Note, and we'll just say the Death Note for now. Someone gets the Death Note, and the campaign itself is going in the direction, the players are interested in this idea, and the GM is maybe interested in playing with this idea, that with the Death Note, I don't really care what the players do with it. I just want to see where this goes, and we're going to produce challenges akin to that, right? Then it's a great magic item. But if you give them the Death Note and you're not I really want to see what goes on, and all you're doing is basically, giving them the same sort of story as if they didn't have the Death Note, it's just I use it to do things. It's but that stuff doesn't really work. You fight more goblins. You basically ignore the power of the stuff that you've given them, or you're just okay, you use it, it's fine. Yeah, sure, whatever. Nothing is occurring as a result of it. They're just okay, I use it to win, and then I do, and then I do, and there's no pushback ever. Then it's not successful, right? You're not producing more barriers. You're not giving them more things to game with. Now it's just a Mary Sue story. This your Gary Stu character that you've created by putting a bad magic item in. You've just ruined your own campaign. I've always said good magic items, too much magic items, or Monty Halling or whatever you want to call it. Right. It's like crack, right? It's going to produce a situation where your PCs feel like they're not challenged and the game is going to take a shit. And it happens every time, and it's an easy way for GMs to make people like the game in the short term. Here's a pile of cool magic items. Here, you're feeling really strong. Here's some stuff. It's an easy game. More cool stuff, but you need more and more and more, and the game will ultimately fall apart. It won't find a solution because there's no challenge. There's no game. And people might come and it might be a chore, but eventually people are just going to be can we just retire? Or we win.
The goals become, how can I make my character as powerful as possible, rather than any goals interacting with the world.
Well, the characters are already powerful. They don't need to, any interaction with the world is irrelevant, because the world is basically, they are gods striding the land, and they're only level 2.
The only thing that motivates them is another +1 bonus.
Basically, because they've already got all the pluses. And there's no other people that can stop them. They can just be I'm the king now. And the king's I've got armies to stop you. He's yeah, well, no. Just bring them on. Can they do over 10 damage? I got DR10.
Power word, nope.
Power word, get the GTFO, friend. And the king dies and you become the king and no one can stop you. If you're the GM, and if your GM's doing that. Obviously, if the GM is erecting proper barriers and doing and following through with the magic items they gave you, then these magic items might be good. But if they're not, then they aren't good. So I guess what I'm getting at is that when you give people magic items, keep in mind what magic items you've given them, and use and whatever effects they produce with those magic items, you need to push back, like Newton's law. You got to push back with their use. Yeah. Their powers produce consequences, and it really doesn't matter what you give them, as long as those consequences exist.
Well, yeah, sure, you got the Sword of Cast, but you know what? You're not the only one who wants it.
Yeah, see, and then that adds to the story all on its own. And I guess the other part that would make it successful is make sure if you give them the sort of cast that you understand that this is like an artifact level kind of thing, and it has its own history and story and all this other stuff. So you're introducing the barriers that are supposed to be produced by the sort of cast, and if you don't honor those barriers that are produced by it, then you're just you're making a piece of crap. You're doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And you shouldn't be putting something in that you're not going to use it in its proper way. It's like, oh yeah, you got the Staff of Orcus. Just add it to your character sheet. It's good. Can I just use it to kill people? Yeah.
Yeah, no consequence.
No, that's good. Yeah, he just wants you to do evil. Okay, well, I'm an evil character, so that works for me. Great.
Works out great. And then one day...
is anybody going after it? No, they're all dead. You've killed them. Hey, I want your... Bam, dead. Oh, sweet.
You win.
Good game, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, is there anything that we're missing here with that? With like really, it doesn't matter what kind of treasure you put in, as long as you accompany it with the challenges that go along with it. Like even like it can be a narrative device to have the one goblin guarding the time machine.
It'd be pretty hilarious. It's like, we have spent thousands of years misleading the public with false lies of our own weakness and cowardice. We made ourselves disgusting so you would never trust us and never investigate.
And now I'm dead and you get a time machine.
Tell Gary I said hello.
Fucking Farmer Joe came over. He's like, oh, look at this.
Now I'll plant my crops last year so that I can get them tomorrow.
You should have just planted your crops every year. Things happen.
I'll go back in time and plant them twice and get twice as much.
No, but I mean, it's important that treasure is... we talk about magic items primarily because, honestly, they are the coolest.
Yeah.
Gold is really a way to get other treasures. That's what it really is. Because players with having a big pile of gold, they don't do much with it. Favors, same thing. Those are the kind of things that they really want, is like favors, connections, buildings, magic items. And magic items is the big one because they're the coolest. They're the most fun. They're portable. They get to go adventuring with you. You can't bring your castle, right? Mm-hmm. But...
well, you can bring the guards, but like...
I guess, yeah.
That costs money.
Yes. At which point it's now a simulation game. But I think it's important that, particularly when you have... like world-changing things, that it should be like an emergent property. If you're gonna have like a magic item or a favor or a situation
or an entire fief.
Fiefdoms are great.
Yeah.
That benefits your players. Yeah, it should bring challenges and things like that. But I think since they are like seasoning, they are flavoring that you're adding to your characters and your adventure and your setting. That these are kind of things that shouldn't be overly complicated. I think if you give someone like a magic item that does like 10 different things, unless the whole game is about that magic item, it's just going to be too complicated and put off by the wayside. Having
keep it simple, stupid.
A simple set of rules that has complicated repercussions is really the fun stuff. Because like Infinite Gruel, for example, we're laughing about that, but it was actually...
Well, that's probably...
then you flood the fucking market and like...
Oh, exactly.
That's either figuratively or literally.
When you're building your magic items, like keep it simple, stupid is pretty good. Like we don't need a magic item that does 10 things. Just do one thing that's really fun.
Yeah.
And it's easier to write those things out. Like unless it's some weird artifact level thing where it has some strange properties. And even then, like that's
got a bunch of little perks, but it's got like one cool thing that it does.
Yeah.
Because then people know how to use it. I think if it's too complicated, people aren't going to use it properly. You want people to, you want them to slice through the story with this incredible new thing they've got. They need to know how to use it.
And just to sort of go back once again, I'm retreading the same territory a bit, but I mentioned fiefdoms, and it's because I had a moment of inspiration, right? The idea is like your reward is like land with where you have to tax and people, and there's administration and all this other stuff. Unless you're prepared to have your campaign become basically about the day-to-day monotony of running a kingdom, if you're going to give them a fief, give them a patrician or seneschal who will just manage it for them, and you can make the big decisions once in a while when the patrician shows up.
Yeah.
Like don't bog them down with the minutia of your thing. And this could go with magic items too. It's like if your magic item requires you to murder a person every day, like don't make them murder a person every day unless this is going to be part of your story. Like unless that's what you want the game to be, is like the moral quandary about murdering a person every day. Like we can just run under the assumption that there's going to be a series of murders, and that because that player wants that thing murdering every day or whatever for his cool powers. Like, that's a bit extreme, but you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
Don't give out these magic items unless you're gonna want to tread on that territory.
Oh shit! I think that's actually the perfect way to put it. There's this guy who wrote a book on how to write mystery novels. This was like 8 years ago or something.
Sure.
But he had one line in there that was really important. He actually criticized a lot of other mystery writers who would throw a lot of red herrings and crap out there. He said, if it comes up in the story, it better damn be important. Like, it better be relevant.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of this. That's like a movie thing too, right?
Yeah,
like it's like if it's something, if you see it on the screen or when they're focused on it, if something is focused on the screen, it should come up in the movie.
Yeah.
So it's like, if for whatever reason, like the start of a scene focuses on a really big gun hanging up on the wall, and then it goes to the rest of the scene, like that gun should be a foreshadow for something else. Like, why would you put a giant gun there? Unless it's foreshadowing something, or it's not doing something about like, it's displaying that the character who owns the gun is like really just a gun nut, so he's really good with guns.
Well, that's his relevancy, right?
Or yeah, but it has to be relevant to the movie in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And the same thing goes with this mystery writing thing. Is like, don't, like, if you're going to mention something in your mystery novel, don't just let it hang. And the same would go for these magic items. It's like, if you're going to mention or put these magic items in here, don't just like leave it as like just some sort of footnote. It's like, oh yeah, they got magic gear, whatever. It's no big deal.
Put the +2 on your sheet.
Yeah, put that +2 on your sheet, buddy. There should be more to it. And I think the most successful magic items are the ones that have interesting effects that go beyond the bonuses to a stat. Mm-hmm. In cast, I would rather see a magic item that like can move dirt than a magic item that gives you +2d6 to damage. Or even 10d6 or whatever, because cast's numbers are very high. Doing more interesting things opens more doors, like we were saying. So, is there anything anybody else wants to say? Because I think we're sort of nailing it. Like it's been pretty.
I think so. You wanted to encourage player creativity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't. The magic item or whatever should add more to the story, like you said. It shouldn't be worthless. Like, it shouldn't do nothing, and it shouldn't remove like all challenge.
So basically, basically what we're saying is, it sounds like gold and jewels and all that stuff is subpar treasure.
Yeah,
Wow.
probably.
It's okay. No one's gonna complain.
Yeah.
But it's not.
Well, the treasure opens more doors, and that lets them buy the things that they need, the mundane stuff, or
it's
even if there's
essential.
lots of it, you can buy what you want, right? Like, so it is useful. And if you get gems or whatever, it might open up doors in that, or it might produce barriers in that they have to somehow unload the jewels to get real goods that they want. Like, nobody can use just diamonds unless you're a wizard or something, and that's part of your casting or whatever.
Yeah.
But
All
the
right.
barriers that are created as a result of these golden jewels is basically bartering, bargaining. Like, the face of your party, if you even have one,
Robbers.
which everybody likes to neglect because they would rather have kill shankers and shungers and
We're murder hobos.
murder hobos. Yeah, basically. You don't have someone who's charismatic usually, unless it's like they get stats for it. I'm a sorcerer or a paladin.
I let it slide if they actually say like good words. If they word good, I let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
I don't care if your
Or give
charisma's
bonuses.
10. If you say something that makes sense, like
Yeah.
You can always give bonuses too, right? Like,
that's true. Situational bonuses and all that.
like,
kind
oh,
of stuff.
you played you said a good thing. You role played well. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Here's some bonuses. Or you can give them bonuses for playing in character. So if they got a charisma real low, you know, and they're like, hey, blah, 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 and you just bubble crap, and you're just like, okay, that's too in character. Like, this would never normally work, but like, you know, I get like a +3, or in cast, like get like 3d6 or whatever, because you're on point. And, like, no one's gonna, but maybe you'll get lucky because I like you.
Yeah.
You know, because you're just mumbling nonsense because you're basically playing a schizophrenic or something.
Turns out you just made the merchant uncomfortable, so he's going to give it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's turn that negotiation into an intimidation.
Yeah.
He just wants it out of the store.
Please leave. Just take it and go.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, okay, buddy. Well, I'll just half price is fine. Just get the heck out of here. Okay, thank you, buddy. I'll be back tomorrow. No. I'm closed tomorrow. I'm closed. I gotta go to the gruelery.
I'm closing forever.
I got my weekly allotment of gruel.
Yeah. I'm going on a pilgrimage. How long are you in town? 3 days? Yeah, that's how long it's gonna take.
Gotta go visit my aunt.
So yeah, okay. I'll just sort of read off I think with that, I'll read off the list I've produced here, just to get an idea of where we ended up here.
Yeah.
Is, basically pick your rewards. Don't use the random treasure table. Like, if you need to spice things up because you can't think of anything, that's what the random treasure table's for. But if you do, and when you pick your rewards, make sure that you foreshadow them. So you should roll that random treasure table in advance. And make sure that when you produce it, it gives the characters a sense of accomplishment, which is pretty standard for almost any treasure, unless you're just giving something way below what the challenge is for, right? Like, someone works hard for the favor of the queen, and they do everything for the favor of the queen, and they do everything right, and you're just like, yeah, the queen doesn't like you. She doesn't like the look of your face. That's pretty bad.
Because that's like, you can have people go through a dungeon and like find out it had been cleaned out years ago, and they just find like 3 copper pieces and they go, oh crap, we did this for nothing. You could pull one of those if there is some other kind of reward involved. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they're just going to be mad.
Yeah, why? Why would you do that? Or like, yeah, you work for, like...
Hey guys, you know what's fun?
Getting nothing for all this work.
You work for the favor of the queen, she gets assassinated the second you get it.
Okay, I would probably do that.
That's pretty sweet, but then you go find out who the assassin is, and that opens a doorway to adventure.
Yep.
Who knew assassination could be treasure?
But yeah, give them a feeling of accomplishment. Make sure that the treasure opens up new challenges and opens up doors or something like that. So like, even the most mundane treasure will open something up usually. But like, if they work hard for something and you give them a couple copper pieces, that doesn't open up new doors for them. Like, that's not a successful treasure. That's garbage. And it doesn't help them in any way. So it doesn't actually enhance your story. Like, these rewards, they do nothing.
Maybe consider non-financial rewards.
Yeah, oh yeah, this is... I think we've implied that. Like, when you're doing... Make sure that the rewards are... the barriers erected with the rewards are maintained. Like, it doesn't matter what you give them. Favor, fiefdoms, treasure, money, art, all of this stuff. And friendship.
Oh, and friendship.
Yep. All of these things come with... come with basically pushback. And as long as your pushback meets the requirement... so you make friends with the close talking orc. Make sure that orc shows up once in a while and close talks you. Whatever. Like, but yeah, make sure that the treasure meets. You basically keep that treasure in mind when you've given it out, or it enhances your campaign as a whole, because that's what the treasure really is. Is it's sort of the gateway between this session and the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And so when you're building treasure, you are building the future sessions of your campaign. And that's why this is the last episode.
All that glitters are adventure hooks.
That's right. They are adventure hooks. Or they are doors that open, and when you open a door you see more. Like, the meta game of Dungeons and Dragons is that you're always in a dungeon.
Yeah.
Everything is a dungeon. Every treasure you get is just another room in the dungeon. Every player you interact with is another room in the dungeon.
Yep.
These peace negotiations are just combat.
The dungeon is really just a metaphor for life, if you think about it. Each room of the dungeon is just a challenge erected. Some rooms are more challenging than others, But, you know, you might take the easy dungeon, or you might keep going down levels until you reach very powerful dungeons with high rewards. And those powerful dungeons with high rewards that's just really hard work and hard jobs, you know? That's all the dungeon is. Yeah. Role playing is just a metaphor for life. Dragons are a metaphor for chaos. Dungeons are a metaphor for the slog of daily life. That's why dungeons always feel sluggish. Because daily life is sluggish. Every room is another door, another day.
Yeah, you don't know what's past it.
You don't know what's gonna come, and when you're planning for the next room, you realize it's freaking ghosts or something, and you just die.
You get aged 40 years and just die.
You just straight up die.
Yeah. It's rather unfortunate.
Yep.
It happens.
Yep.
Apparently.
I'm just laughing about that one. It was so awful. He literally just aged 40 years and died. And
It's like, yep, orcs only live like 35.
Turns out orcs and ghosts are mortal enemies.
Yeah.
Yep.
The ghost of an orc would be a vengeful spirit. Like,
You know
I want to take revenge on my clan. It's like he just shows up. He's like, hey guys, and they're all fucking dead.
You know what? I think that's going to be a thing from now on. That should be a thing in all my games where orcs really are superstitious about ghosts.
They should be.
Yeah.
Elves probably just
That's
like,
rough.
oh yeah, this is my closet ghost. This is my attic ghost. They aged me 80 years, but I'm alright because I'm a freaking elf.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, they don't.
They
care
just
about
help me get liquor faster.
Honestly, I never understood the sort of like why put hard numbers on things like that. Like the point of the aging thing is supposed to, you know, it's supposed to make you older, not actually like turn the clock of time forward. You're not supposed to turn to dust and disintegrate. Like, so an elf should be aging like a percentage of its total lifespan.
Oh
So it's
yeah,
like,
that would wait. If it was like 1d4 times 10% of your max lifespan.
yeah,
that
but
would...
no, they just put a number to it, like 1d4 times 10 years. It's like, okay, well, ghosts kill black flies, I guess, real easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, imagine if that's how you tell there's a ghost around. There's no squirrels, there's no animals, there's no old people.
No, everyone's an old person.
Yeah, everyone's either an old person or not.
Okay, but all the old people sound like children.
Yeah.
It's like 48 years old. He's all
They
like,
crawl on the
"You
floor,
wanna play
shit in their
jacks?"
pants.
All right, we've gone off the rails, way off the rails. So
Right?
let's
We
bring
were
it
doing
back.
So good. We were
I
doing
think
so good.
I think we nailed the treasure thing. I think we got that idea down. The episode itself, I think, worked out well. So let's talk future episodes. Just let's go on a tangent. So we actually, I think I posted it on the cast, like the Delirium engine, sort of cast thing. So I'm just gonna crack that open because I think I wrote it down in the Skunk Works game board. Oh, someone made a post. I think it's in Swamp Scum. Yeah. Fresh direction for Welcome to the Delirium engine. So, yeah. So the next show I kind of want to do is called Let's Build a Module. All right. And so taking this idea from like enter session and rules for players, rules for GMs, like all of these things, right? Like why don't we put it to good use, right? Because we've had these discussions. So every episode has us in our group plugging together a module from start to finish. We just put it all together, right? If the episode ends up being 2 hours long, whatever. Maybe we'll end it because we get bored, or we'll just pick it up. It might be
So
multiple
like all this
episodes.
academic talk, something practical and
Yeah,
hands-on.
we'll build modules. So we write it down like in the Skunk Works or wherever, and we'll put it together. And each module, the challenge here is each module except the first must be connected somehow with one of the other modules. So like the basically as each episode progresses, you create a whole campaign setting, just filled with modules.
It could be pretty fun, actually.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the direction I'm thinking of taking with the game, or with this thing, and I Swampy might come into it. Like I might get Swampy on board, just because I'm like think of it like Dungeons and Dragons, and if you guys are interested, we should head towards in that direction. I think, and if we just doing it on the radio, people might be, you know, inclined to listen to it, and if they like what they've heard over the radio, they can just go download the actual product at the end. You know, stick some cast dice backgrounds on it and call it a day. And
there you go.
we can make it non-setting specific, or not setting specific, but non-system specific, because it's just going to be flavor text, environment stuff, and
Yeah.
we won't do the most for the least. but we will probably do a lot of Cole's notes, so people might have to pick it up and sort of
make it their own
with their own system or whatever.
Add their own flavor text.
Yeah. So the flavor text they can do that, but I'm thinking like the stats.
Yeah.
You know, maybe apply some cast stats if I want to put some finishing touches and publish it properly, but the module itself can be.
Yeah, we could just say things.
Yeah.
Like, there should be a difficult battle, or it should be easy to give them a false sense of
it would be like a commentary, right? And
Yeah.
and we can just work with it. Like maybe we could start by setting the curve or whatever. And I don't know, maybe the background that we have might just be like I might see if I can set up my tablet or something instead of doing this or whatever, and just have something going on in the background, just the text that we write up and drawings or whatever.
Oh yeah, cool.
We could do it like that instead, because you can just get it so that it like I've already got it. Like these back screens are just me playing this freaking game, and that's another thing I should actually finish that. It's because I changed computers, so I have to like put the save file back into its slot, so like because I don't want to have to start again.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got it saved, and I know where I have to put it. I just haven't done it, and then I got to get a new controller because I don't know where my other one is. I think Will took it. And,
Borrowed it.
Sorry, doxing Will. No, you will like roommate Will. All right. So, well, I think hopefully that people will be excited for the next episodes. I don't think I'm going to give it a totally new name, but it'll probably just be Welcome to the Delirium Engine. Let's make a module, and we'll theme every module a little bit in some way. Like maybe the first one we'll just go crazy and do whatever we want, but after that we might be just like, yeah, let's try using goblins this time, and like we'll do something with goblins, and maybe like let's try to build a module that uses I don't know, like a mind flare or who knows, like something that we want, or we want some treasure, and like let's see if we can build something that like we'll challenge ourselves in some way.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll figure out what the challenge is when we start. Like we'll talk about it. Like I won't prepare something in advance. Pardon?
What do you think about playing them?
Yeah, we could do that, but we need to build them.
Yes.
And that might be another episode altogether, as like we can play them if we want. It's like somehow bring people in, or if we do them and someone else plays them, they can report in the comments like how it turned out for them. Who knows?
Yeah.
It could open up some possibilities. And at the end of the day, worst case scenario, we end up with a bunch of cool modules that we can stuff in a folder and call our own. Or, just I'll put them all in a cast book, and people can just have a bunch of cool modules and pack the cast book in there. It's not like it costs anything.
Yeah.
So
it's all free online.
Yeah, that's
Gotta
that.
go to thattherecast.org.
Yeah,
Get
all the ashes.
PDFs.
Yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, okay, well, I think we've done that. We nailed it. Thanks, guys. Thank you all for watching. If you guys liked it, let's like and subscribe if you want. Thank you to our viewer who watches the show. I hope that you were entertained. All in all, I think Intercession wasn't the most successful series. It might have, mostly because I think 7 episodes of it was too long, and the talking points. Like I think we found a lot of nuggets in each of the episodes. Like every episode was successful in its own way, but as episodes go, I think there was we treaded the same territory often.
Yeah,
is what it ended up being. It's like it's a lot of the same stuff over and over again, just constantly saying the same thing, and that was a problem. And I think as we go forward, like if I did another one, like another kind of like analysis, we'd end up with the same things over and over again. So this is probably a great time to sort of end these like D&D analysis series. I think we did pretty okay work. It was relatively entertaining. It was entertaining to do, probably relatively entertaining to listen to.
I learned some things.
Yeah, well, I think we all came out of it ahead. Good work, boys.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thanks all for coming. Everybody does a good job. One day maybe I'll even animate Mr. Dagwood, so that he's not just just a guy who's been turned to stone. Paralyzing touch.
From flesh to stone.
He's
Here we
holding
go.
in a sneeze, I guess.
That's right. He's just a second, guys. His eyes are rolled back. That's why they're all white.
It's right on the cusp.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Like I said, like and subscribe. buy that merch. Check out Cast if you're interested in it. You probably won't be, but even still, it's pretty cool.
Oh, and check out YouTube.
Check out YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, let's see if YouTube's up and running again because it was down. Here we go. YouTube.
Are we?
Oh, we're back online.
Here we go.
The little boy geniuses at YouTube got it all up and running again.
Yep.
Good for them. Good for them. All right. Well, everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for listening to all these episodes if you have. If not, well, thank you for listening to this one this far. Hope you guys all take care and don't die.